All right, so we're going to get started tonight. Tonight we're here live at Cressy Performance in Hudson, Massachusetts. We have several of our parents here tonight. We're going to get started. Tonight's topic is going to be on execution. I talk a lot about parents understanding where their sons are really at. And tonight I have Brian Billingsley's here, and I actually grew up with a bunch of his buddies in Saugus. And so Brian had asked me about sending his son to a camp or clinic or showcase where they evaluate players. And I get that question a lot. And the big thing is when you start to participate in these events, I equate this a lot to if you've watched a game show and you see these people that win these sweepstakes and they can go into a grocery store or a toy store, everything's free, but you get 1 minute to fill up your basket. That's essentially what I tell parent showcases are like. You go in there and all these parents come in and there's about 100 people there, and for 2 or 3 hours you're just kind of shoveling stuff into your basket, hoping that you're capturing the big prize. So at the end, after your minute, you look in your basket and you see what you have. And for the most part, at those showcases, we end up looking in our baskets and we don't really have anything of significance. And a lot of that has to do with, one, we as parents, for the most part, are oblivious to what we're trying to do and to help our sons prepare for college. So when our boys do get to college, are they ready to actively participate? And so as I'm going through that card at these showcases, these coaches give you feedback and they hand you a piece of paper. And how many tryouts have you been to? Like tryouts for baseball at any age, how many would you say you've attended?
4.
Okay, and as far as showcases, have you been to any showcases? You guys have been to showcases?
Yeah.
How many showcases have you been to?
1 and 2.
Okay, and do you get an evaluation at the end of that showcase? Okay, and it's usually a written show. Okay, do you know what does it tell you? Is there anything at length in there?
It's usually pretty brief. It tells you a little bit about your projection as a player and where you're at right now.
Okay, so how many guys have participated in a perfect game event, for instance? Okay, so you've been to a perfect game. Did you get a grade at the end of that? Did they give you a grade, like a score at the end of it? And what was yours? Do you remember?
7.5.
Okay, so that's the answer. Okay, if I could have said to you like, I'm gonna tell you what your grade was, it would have been 7 to 7.5. Okay, again, that's the generic number that they give to everybody because they don't want to give a 6 or below. You won't come back. But if they give you a 7 or a 7.5, you're part of that sweepstakes where you'll always come back. Okay, and that's like the best of the worst and the worst of the best is like a 7, 7.5. You could be, you might be. We don't know if you are yet, but good news. Next event, you come back, and we'll have more people try to tell you whether you're an 8, an 8.5, or a 7, or anything like that. So my point is all of these showcases, all of these camps and clinics, all they're doing is gathering numbers. There's nothing of any substance or any consequence. And so what you're doing as a parent and what you're doing as a ball player is nothing more than treading water. So at some point, we have to have an action plan or a game plan. And then from there, you have to execute. And the case in point is I have three young men that are here today that played with us last year. Okay, and all 3 boys can tell you my subject to them all summer was, okay, we're doing great, but we need to gain weight. We need to get size. We need to have a platform or a foundation that we can work off of. In other words, all 3 boys were physically capable of throwing a baseball. All 3 boys were physically capable of competing at a collegiate level after high school, but all 3 boys did not have a game plan. And so rather than them continuing to play, we developed a game plan that they have subsequently executed. So tonight's topic is about execution and how do we handle that as parents. So at some point when your son is 13 or 14, they have to ask themselves, how much baseball do you watch on television?
Almost every game.
How much baseball do you watch?
A lot.
Okay, you guys say you guys all watch a lot of baseball? Okay, so my point to that is we don't play a lot of baseball as kids as far as just going out to play and getting our repetition. So our repetition now for our student athletes comes through visual. The more that they can visually see repetitions, that's how they're gaining retention. And unfortunately, that does not help them athletically. So one of the things that has to be addressed early is we have to have an understanding of what is our physical, where are we at physically today as it relates to other boys within my class. 2, skill sets. Where are my skill sets and how am I going to develop my skill sets? Have a parent and a couple of the boys back there, their parents had asked me in the past about lessons. Lessons are a safety net. If I said to you as a player, I'm going to do 10 hitting lessons with you this month, and then in a couple weeks your season's going to start, but those lessons are going to make you a great hitter. Okay, those lessons are doing nothing other than getting reps that you can do on your own, but you're not getting any in-game reps. And so really it's a false safety net because you're really not getting to the point where you're being prepared to compete when the bell rings, in this case the third Monday in March or whenever middle school baseball starts. So lessons have become this false sense of expectation that your son is prepared to go out and compete, when in reality he's not. And so again, I go back to in the fact that he's here tonight, and you can ask as parents, when we think as parents, I want my son, or my son aspires to play baseball at the collegiate level, what you're thinking that means and the reality of that are two different things. So collegiate baseball, in our mind, we watch a game, we think, my son, I think he can progress to the point where he can play at that level. When in reality, that lane is going 100 miles an hour and your son is going to walk onto that freeway. He's not driving on. He's not in a car. He's walking onto that freeway. When he walks onto the freeway, if you've ever stood next to a car going 55 or 60 miles an hour, the sound that it makes, it's intense. Well, now take that to the athletic side and you walk onto a campus, any college campus, and you see these baseball players that are 21 through 23 years old, and you walk onto the field, and all of a sudden, you hear the baseball going by your eye. You will see the baseballs going into the outfield over the fence. You hear the ball coming off of a bat. It's a sound that you've never heard before. Mm-hmm. So are you preparing for that as a player? Are you preparing for that as a parent? These are the types of things that when we start, in other words, these guys here, 2 of them are, you're all juniors this year, right? So those guys are juniors now in high school. Dex, you're a junior, right? Okay, so these guys are late to the dance. You're, like you 2 right here are at the right time in the dance. So the right time for the dance is about 8th, 9th grade. That's the right time. Is there such a time as being too late? No. But my point is, as juniors in high school, we think, oh, we got this down, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting bigger, our high school team's really good. But in reality, as far as with regard to college baseball, you're not preparing yourself properly if the strength and conditioning part of it is not set in stone. Your routine is not, it should be weekly, we should have a routine, not seasonally, meaning at some point during the course of a week, you need to be doing something that is preparing you to be better at the craft of baseball. It's time to start thinking about the sport as more of a craft and not just a sport. Now, the next aspect of this is, in going back to our lessons, you have the safety of a coach sitting on a bucket or sitting next to you, and they're talking while you're going through these repetitions. And as you're going through these repetitions, you're getting feedback. In a game, the only thing that's giving you feedback is the result. And that's deafening. When you're a student athlete, and we've become so accustomed and acclimated to the lessons and the feedback that we get. And generally it's always positive, not a lot of people are negative. But then you go out onto the field and all of a sudden you throw a ball, you think, wow, that's exactly how it's supposed to feel, that's how it's supposed to look, and there it goes over a fence. What happened? Or I'm a hitter and I'm thinking all about my grip and I'm thinking all about, oh, I look good and my stance feels good and the barrel feels good, and all of a sudden swing and a miss. I've never seen a slider before. I've never seen that kind of curveball before. Okay, well, have you prepared yourself for those things? And so as a young student athlete, you need to be doing things every day that are preparing you in some capacity, whether we live here in New England or you live in Florida or anything like that. So you have to ask yourself, or you have to ask your son, are you doing something on a regular basis that's making you a better baseball player? And it can be as simple as, vision work. It can be simple as wrist rolls, it can be hitting into a heavy bag, it can be throwing baseballs into a sheet. I mean, there's a variety of things that can be done with grips and things like that that can make you a better baseball player. Now, going forward as far as college recruiting, and going back to that analogy, as far as sweeping things into your cart, a college coach can say many wonderful things to student athletes at a very young age. In other words, there's no commitment to them. I'm not making a financial commitment to them, and I'm not making a time commitment to them. So if I go out and I'm a baseball coach, and I'm a Division III, 2, 1 school, I'm going to try to get as many people interested in my school as I can, because one, I might catch lightning in a bottle, and somebody that's 6'2", or in Jake's case, somebody that's throwing 86, weighing 135 pounds, all of a sudden could weigh 200 pounds when he's a senior in high school, and boom, I might have somebody throwing 92 or 93. So I might want to collect as many of those guys as I can, because it doesn't cost me anything. But when the time comes where I either have to offer a scholarship or I have to get someone into school and I have to play my cards, you know what, I'm sorry, you just don't fit our criteria. And that happens quite a bit in college recruiting. And so you have to be very leery from a parent standpoint. We have this recruiting service, and I have a scout, and he's telling me that these schools are interested in me. Well, great. Did they make an offer? Do you know what they have, for players in front of you and so forth? So before you can make a commitment to a college, or a college coach can make a commitment to you, what is your plan? Meaning, am I going for engineering? Am I looking for architecture? What is my goal? Do I want to go to a school that is in a city? Do I want to be in a rural area? Am I looking for a school that's going to be, my campus is here, but my ball field is 2 miles away? I can guarantee you that the juniors here, if I asked them a school they wanted to go to, knowing the three that I would ask, I want to go to Division I. Okay, well, give me a school. URI, okay, do you know where the baseball field is in proximity to the library? No. Do you know if the college coach has been there longer than 3 years? No. I mean, these are the types of things that you need to know, because if you're going to say to your son, okay, well, we're going to go to this school, okay, do we know if that coach is going to be there when we get there? Do we know if that coach has been, is his belief that I'm going to develop freshmen? Does that coach, is he an instructor? Is he a mentor? Is he going to expect your son to come in and be ready to play right away? In other words, this college recruiting process and this college recruiting services is just one big dream-chasing mouse wheel that most people enter into, and they have no idea why. They just see everybody else running to the mouse wheel, and they figure, oh, I better get on that thing because that's where everybody else is going. That's what I have to do. When I started to do this, I did this because I started to find more and more parents were chasing thin air. They had no idea what their son's strengths and weaknesses were. They didn't know when to begin, where to begin. So baseball process was born out of, after helping boys for so many years and parents for so many years, I finally started to say, you're getting ripped off. You're getting ripped off. I know as a parent, I drive a car, I drive a beat-up Prius. I drive about, conservatively, 50,000 miles a year, just doing courier work. And I don't have a lot of, free money that I can just blow around. So I knew when it came to my boys that I wanted to have a definitive game plan. And a lot of that started here at Cressy. But my game plan was centered around feedback that I would receive from people I trusted within the game. So that's step number one. We want to get feedback on your son's real ability now and your projectability for college. That's topic number one. Topic number two is, does your son really want to play in college? Okay, so when I ask that question, I get a lot of, well, of course he does. I want to, we keep going back to numbers. Okay, do you realize how hard it is to make a college roster? It's not like high school. In other words, we were talking about St. John's and Catholic Memorial and Boston College High and St. Peter Marian and Algonquin. Those schools have smaller numbers as far as that they're drawing from. A college gets a larger number of people. And so do you know the colleges that you're looking at and how they work? Meaning, I had a boy the other day, he's from Kentucky. He can go to Kentucky for free. I had another boy that lives in Alabama. He can go to Alabama, University of Alabama, for free. If my son wanted to go to Alabama, it would have cost him $20,000. If I'm a college coach and I have 5 boys from Alabama and I have 5 boys from Massachusetts, where do you think I'm going to go recruit? The 5 boys from Alabama cost me nothing. The 5 boys from New England would cost me $100,000. So when we start entering this process of college recruiting, are we looking at private schools, state schools? Where are they located? What are their numbers? What kind of coaches? Stipends as far as do they have an active recruiting coordinator? These are the types of things that you start to go in. So when we start with recruiting, we want to know what schools we're interested in, where they're located, what the coaching staff looks like, how many players do they carry. Anybody here know how many players? Do you guys know how many players are on an active Division I roster? Jake, Nick, anybody?
27 or so.
Okay, 27 is the active on a Division I roster. 35 they can carry. Okay, so I'll give you a perfect example. I won't name the school, but there's a school right now. They have 35-man roster. They're losing 12 players, and next year they're bringing in 27. Does that math work for you? Okay, so if I have 35, I'm losing 12, and I'm bringing in 27. That means there's an overage, right? Okay, do you as student athletes understand what that means? What would that mean to you guys?
People don't play.
Somebody's getting cut, okay? So my point to this whole thing is, you guys are all 14 through 17 years old. We deal with parents that want to, college is all about, I want to get started, I want to start committing, I want to do all of this. Why do we want to commit to a school that we don't know if the school's committing to us or what the school's committing to us? Way over and above money. 2, am I going to be prepared to compete and execute when I get to college? So you come to the gym, you go to take your lessons. At the end of the day, it's about execution. It's about execution of academics, which is first and foremost, in the classroom, taking care of business there. It's about execution of skill sets, meaning your skill sets are developing and being prepared to be ready to compete from day one on campus. And lastly, that school that you choose, you're going to be there for 4 years. That should be your end game. Just to go there and get there is not what we want to start talking about. When you're talking about college recruiting, a lot of college coaches will bring in 27 players for 12 open spots. That means there's going to be 15 boys that are pretty upset, and that doesn't mean it's part of the 15 boys that are the incoming freshmen. It means that there are 15 boys collectively. They could be juniors, they could be seniors that have been there for 3 years. I told the story the other day. Vanderbilt University, very near and dear to my heart, had 3 boys that were seniors, and they are not playing baseball this year as seniors. And there's a variety of different reasons, but I want that to sink in because they chose a school and they had a great experience, and suddenly they find out, okay, I'm not going to be playing next year, and I'm a senior. There's so much that goes into this college recruiting process that people are just unaware of, they're uneducated about, but they spend a ton of money to go out and start getting into these camps and showcases, and they spend money on recruiting services. They don't know why. They don't know why. Because you don't know what the college coaches want, need, and are looking at when they see your son. So that's really what we want to talk about tonight. So I want to get into Dax. The other day you and I met 2 weeks ago. Okay, and after that meeting, what did you take from that meeting?
I need to start working harder. I need to try to get a game plan going because I didn't really have much going for myself.
Okay, so that's the answer I was hoping you were going to give me, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the question was, what did we work on after we spoke? And the response was, I have to work harder and I have to have a game plan. Okay, what does working harder mean? If I said to you, I think I asked you this question, but if I said to you, how fast are you? What would you say to me? What's your foot speed? How fast are you?
I have no idea.
Okay, but if I said to you that a pit bull was chasing you, how fast would you become?
Faster.
Faster,
Faster
right?
than him.
Right.
That's all that matters.
Right. Do you understand that? In other words, so I have to work harder. Work harder than who? Work harder for what? Work harder. What is it? What's the definition of working harder? So the only way to work harder is to have your plan in place. And to have a plan in place, that requires really a bunch of things, but the three big things are a discussion with your family, mom and dad. Where am I at academically and where do I want to go? Okay, that's topic number one. Topic number two is where am I athletically and where do I want to go? And then the final thing is what is my realistic landing spot? Meaning we are junior in high school and this is where we're at. This is where we're capable of being and what are my options? Once I know what my options are, I choose and select an option. Doesn't mean you have to pick the best option. It means you have to pick the right option for you at this time. You can tweak it, but you need to have that game plan. And from there, you have to execute that plan. Meaning, we can come up with constant, you got to lift, you got to swim, you got to run, you got to throw. But if you're not doing it, you're not executing it, you're still down here. Now, how much weight have you gained this year, Jake?
35.
How many?
35.
35 pounds. And when did you start?
End of August.
Okay, did you play fall baseball?
No.
Okay, who told you not to play fall baseball? Okay, do you feel like you missed anything? Okay, so the topic was, young man comes out of his summer, he goes out and he performs, and he hits what I call the mid-range of Division I fastball. And he weighed 135? 135 pounds as a sophomore coming into a season, and he missed Jupiter, and he missed Fort Myers, and he missed all these camps and showcases and all these things, and every day my phone would ring at some point or text, hey, I got a showcase, hey, I have this, should I do this? No, 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 no. And it was not easy for a 16-year-old boy to say, geez, everybody else is going to these events, I should be going to these events. In the end, his game plan, which he stuck to, now he's added 35 pounds. Now that additional 35 pounds, and I can definitively tell you as a college coach, I look at him today for the first time since September, that's going to produce an 88 to 89 mile an hour fastball, which in turn will produce a college opportunity. And so there's a man, we give him a plan, he executes the plan, and now he has the confidence and the ability to know that all of that hard work will pay off. And on top of that, he has options to do a postgraduate year, which I'm a big advocate for as far as he's concerned, because he has the elite Division I upside. But if somebody doesn't come to you and say, take a step back, don't keep playing, don't keep chasing, he's just going to keep going on that mouse wheel, and he's out there playing, he doesn't put the 35 pounds on, and then he ends up on the outside looking in as a junior going into his senior year, and he's, stuck in that middle grade. You guys, what did you guys get out of this off season?
Gained 25 pounds.
Gained 25 pounds.
Same here, 25.
Okay, 25 pounds. And so at the end of the day, you just started here, Gary?
Yeah.
All right. When this past month? Yeah. Now, first month that you've been in here, what is something that you've learned?
Just working hard. I like going to this gym because the atmosphere around it makes me want to work harder.
You see a lot of baseball players in there? Okay, and you see a lot of their work ethic. So that's the other topic. You guys that haven't really been to this in this environment, it doesn't matter if it's Cressy. Okay, I can tell you definitively, similar to when you're coming in here, when Tyler came in here the first time, it was a different spot in the building, but it was very intimidating. And I think you might agree, Jake. When you first come in, it's intimidating to look around and see boys that have this strength, and you see chains, and you see, barbells going up and down and squats. It's intimidating because you can't do these movements, but after having been in here for 3 or 4 months, getting acclimated into the environment, it becomes a part of you. They become mentors. The people around you become mentors. And that's a big part of the recruiting process. Surrounding yourself with people that are going in the same direction or that share the same passion. It's very difficult for parents and student athletes to recognize if you're the one guy in your part of the country or your high school that has a dream and a drive and you don't have other people around you, it's hard to measure where you're going. It's hard to kind of look around and say, okay, I'm going in the right direction, I'm making the right gains, both athletically and strength-wise, because you don't really know. But if you're in this type of an environment, it's easy to see, and it's easy to understand that you are making those gains. So part of this college recruiting process is to get a good measuring stick of where you're at, where you want to go, and surround yourself in the environment that's going to kind of take you there and get you there. Where do you want to play college baseball?
I'm not sure yet.
Do you have any goals as far as athletically where you would like to play?
I think I'd just like to play college baseball if I can get there anyway.
And where will you go to high school?
I'm still deciding it, but I applied to Andover, Beaumont Hill, and St. Mike's.
Okay, so that's right at my, so those are the types of schools. Do you guys have any idea where you would like to go to school? None. Okay, and you guys are both juniors? Okay, you guys back here, Nick, Ann?
I would love to go to Cornell.
Cornell?
Cornell, Bentley University.
Bentley?
Bentley.
Okay, so we have Division I, Division II.
Undecided.
Undecided. Do you have a school that you like to? How about you?
I'd just like to play college.
Okay, so for the most part, we all want to play college baseball, right? Okay, so I've given this speech before, so when do you think that you're gonna start the college recruiting process?
I'd say sophomore, freshman.
Sophomore year. Have you guys started yet?
After last year's season, yeah, but,
Has any college coaches talked to you yet?
Division III schools, yeah, Rollins College, Alabama State.
Alabama State?
Alabama State's Division I.
Yeah.
Not really, just something you know.
Okay, any college coaches talk to you guys, Division II?
Both of some emails, American International, really it.
AIC, okay. Anybody for you? Okay. All right, so my point of asking that question is who's playing, if I said to you, you want to go to AIC, have you talked to the coach?
Not much. It
Okay.
was after a showcase, so it wasn't really anything special.
Okay, have you guys physically spoken to a coach? Okay, you obviously haven't. So the number one thing is if and when you feel that you are ready to, and you have a desire to talk to a college coach, the time is yesterday. All right, and the parental interaction with the college coach in the early part of the process should be slim and none. The college coaches want to see two things from a young man: accountability and responsibility. And they want to see how aggressive and how much this means to your sons. So when we're talking Division I colleges, 2% of all baseball players that start playing baseball after Little League or after the age of 12 will play Division I college baseball. And so if you want to be part of that 2%, the sooner you start to understand where you're at and where you want to go, and that when you start taking action, that's going to help you. The next thing is understanding that college coaches cannot call you back. I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to parents and they'll say, yep, never called me back. He can't call you back. You have to be aggressive. You have to keep calling college coaches. Emails with videos. I know that you have a college recruiter, Mr. Gigliotti. A college recruiter sends an email to a college coach. The average college baseball coach, Division III, II, I, NAIA, JUCO. The average college baseball coach will get anywhere from 100 to 500 emails a day. And 70% of those emails have videos attached to them. And most college coaches won't watch unless you've called the coach, had a dialogue, initiated a dialogue, and made that college coach aware, oh, here's the Gigliotti guy, got to watch this kid, I want to see his arm action. Okay? When you're taking a video, know what you're taking a video of. Don't just take random video. Don't make it too long. You have to have an understanding of what we're trying to get the college coaches to see. What college would you like to go to? Like when you start thinking about colleges, where would you like to go?
Top Division I schools.
Okay, so give me a school off the top of your head.
Vanderbilt.
Okay, who's the recruiting coordinator? Who's the pitching coach? Okay, so the point of asking that question is regardless of what school you want to attend, before you start to open a dialogue with that coach, whether it's email or telephone, know the coach's name, know the coach's wife's name, know the recruiting coordinator's name, know the pitching coach's name, know the conference that they play in, know the school mascot, know the number of seniors they're graduating, know their roster, inside and out. Because occasionally a college coach will say something like, he's gonna try to see if you're fully engaged in this process. Because again, a lot of boys, when I ask, where do you wanna go to school, they say the top Division I school. And I'll say to them, okay, well, top Division I school, and I'll throw on something there, okay, TCU, that's a school, well, TCU. Okay, well, that's the #1 ranked school in the country preseason right now. Well, that's where I want to go. Okay, who's the head coach? No idea. What conference do they play in? Texas. No, that would be the Big 12. So all of these things matter to college coaches because that tells them your sincerity, you're real, you're researching, you're accountable. These things add up and they make a difference. How many guys here have gone to a showcase and there's been Division I coaches there? Anybody gone to a showcase that's been Division I coach?
I was told there was Division I coaches there, but I'm not sure what school.
That happens all the time. If there's not a Division I coach that does this, there probably isn't a Division I coach there. A Division I coach can only be out, away from campus for certain times of the year. They can't be out 12 months. So when you get an invite to the big showcase in December, and mom and dad are gonna spend about $3,000 to go to Florida or Arizona in December, because there's Division I coaches are gonna be there, and that's a quiet period, they can't be off campus until March, or when their season starts in February, but March. So you gotta read a little deeper, you gotta ask more questions, you gotta ask who's gonna be in attendance. My point to all of this is, when you're going to begin college recruiting process, and I ask parents to execute a game plan, you have to have a game plan before you can execute the game plan. And if you're gonna pay to go to a showcase, why? Does your son throw hard? Does he run fast? Does he hit a ball far? Does he hit a ball a lot? Is he a defensive whiz? Because if the answer to those questions is, I don't know, don't go to the showcase. If you're gonna be a pitcher and you're gonna go to a showcase and it's gonna be any time in November through, say, January, just had this happen, a poor, bad situation. A young man is a very talented pitcher. He goes to a showcase 2 weeks ago in late January. He's on a mound. He's from the Northeast, and he hurts his arm. Now, he's not gonna be prepared for the baseball season. Why would I wanna go to a showcase as a pitcher and be on a mound if I haven't done it all year? If I'm a hitter and I haven't faced live pitching and I'm going to a showcase January, February, and I'm gonna start facing live pitching, anybody here going to a showcase in the distant and coming up, or anybody been to one recently? Parent just paid $450 for a local event, inside, 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, this goes to Brian's question, paid $450 and didn't realize that his son was gonna be asked to hit against live pitching. So into the cage walks a senior in high school, and he's 6'5" or whatever, throwing about mid-80s, and this boy is a freshman or sophomore in high school, and he gets recognized for all the wrong reasons. Because he gets in the cage, he's not prepared, and all of a sudden the college coaches are looking at this guy, and he didn't know he was gonna be going to this, but he paid $450, and instead of hitting off of a tee, he's hitting live pitching, and he's not ready for it. So before you spend money on this whole thing known as recruiting or camps or clinics, know why you're going, know if you're ready to go, and if you should be attending these things. So now, questions. After last week, do you have questions after you and I spoke?
No, you're pretty straightforward.
Did you feel like I covered a lot of things?
Yeah.
When I met you, did you think that we were gonna be together for like 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever it was?
I thought it was gonna be very brief. It was longer than I thought it was gonna be.
Okay. You guys have questions back there? Do you wanna be recruited?
Yes, sir.
So if I said to you, you were gonna do a PG year, would you be ready for that mentally?
Yes.
Have you started to think about that? Have you talked to Dad about that?
Yeah.
What kind of questions do you have?
I don't have any covered.
Okay. Real brief, I'm gonna bring up, do you have any questions? Brian?
Good.
You're writing a lot, but do you have any questions?
No.
No, Kyle would. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, what do you think about like a PG year versus a repeat 9 year?
Okay, it's 6 and 1, half dozen the other. It's the same exact thing. I'm a tremendous advocate of that. So just so I let everybody at home know, the difference between doing a postgraduate year and repeating a year, 9th or 10th grade. The reason why that's a great, first of all, how many people here know about Obama's daughter going to Harvard? Anybody know what a gap year means, a gap year? You guys know what a gap year is, right? Academic. So the big rage right now is the gap year, where you graduate high school and you go off and you take a year to, you know, kind of grow up and see the world, and the lights go on, and now you're ready to attack your freshman year in college. Not a big advocate of a gap year, but I am a big advocate of a postgraduate or repeating a year. And the reason for that is this. Physical and mental maturation, you gain a competitive edge in both, meaning academically and athletically, you're prepared to compete in the classroom and on the field of play. And so if you have the availability and the ability to do that, then I strongly suggest, Jared, I'm going to bring up Andrew here in a second. His son did a postgraduate year out at Northampton, Mass, and it paid large dividends. He actually ended up being able to become a college baseball player and a pitcher. The reason why I want parents to understand, it's not so much the athletic component, it's the beyond the baseball field. When you get to school, and we talked about it earlier, the difference between walking onto a highway and driving onto the highway. As a college freshman, you'll now be mature enough physically to compete against those boys that are at that school. You're preparing your body to, when you get to school, to be ready to participate. Have you ever sat on a bench for a season and watched, like during your baseball career, have you sat on it and just watched the whole season? Or have you been an active participant?
I've been an active.
Okay, so has anybody here sat and watched an entire season without playing? You feel good?
No.
Okay, so the big part of that is when you're on the outside looking in, you think I can handle it, but nobody really likes to do that. Now, some boys have to do that. Some boys, that's their role. Some boys are utility players. But it gives you an advantage if you do take that postgraduate year of at least getting your body and your mind right and be mature enough to handle whatever happens as far as your playing time. You'll be physically ready to compete, mentally prepared to compete as far as, do I have to sit and earn my time? What am I watching? What am I learning? But that extra year helps athletically and academically. So I'm a huge fan of that. To me, I'd rather repeat at the 9th, 10th grade year if you have the ability to do so. Some boys don't have that ability.
And how would you go about doing that? You just tell the school you want to do it again?
Well, when I have a lot of boys, my son, for instance, we elected not to do that. Tyler graduated as a 17-year-old. I always ask and it all worked out. But I always ask myself, what would it have looked like if he had repeated his high school senior year? What would that have looked like instead of his college freshman year? And so if you're a high school freshman and you want to apply to a school that, an ISL school or independent league, Phillips Andover, Exeter, Salisbury, Cheshire, et cetera, you're going to apply to that school as a repeat freshman. And you just reclassify is what they call it. And a lot of boys down south, that's like the rule down south. That's not the exception. Whereas up here in the north, it's kind of the exception. So all you would do is you would notify the school that you would like to reclassify. So instead of a 2020, you're going to be a 2021. So you're going to repeat your 9th grade year. Especially if you're looking for high academic schools, which I'm a strong advocate of, that repeat year is often seen in a very positive light by the admissions departments at schools and universities.
Why, I would think it would be just the opposite where, are they looking into why you repeated your 9th grade year?
No, I'll give you a perfect example. When you go into the interview process, if you as a student are talking with an admissions, at a college, which I had a boy do the other day, he can say, I don't think I was really prepared. I didn't mentally prepare myself for my freshman year, and there are things I wish I could have done better, and that allowed me the opportunity to have a better understanding of the priority of my academics, and I made enough adjustments with my study habits and my routines and things that I should have been doing, and then I got the opportunity to go, to kind of start that process over again at, whatever school that you've chosen, and it's really taught me a better routine, a better time structure, things like that, and that's gonna carry yourself, especially if it's a toss-up, if a school is gonna allow you in academically. Also, bear in mind, the academic component to college baseball, we had the boys back there mention Cornell. I'll give you a great case in point. I'm down in Louisiana, and a young man wanted to go to an Ivy League school. And I don't know if you know anything about Cornell engineering. I don't know what you guys want to major in. But that engineering department, they only accept 100 students worldwide. And the baseball coaches were able to get him into the engineering. They were able to get him into Cornell and into the engineering department. And he was a fringe student, meaning he was like a 3.4. He wasn't that 4.5, and he was like a 26 ACT. He wasn't a 33 and above. So baseball kind of helped get him into Cornell and then subsequently into their engineering program. So those are the types of things that can make a big difference, especially when you start talking about those types of schools. Any other questions before I bring Andy up? Yep.
When you talk to college coaches or what you've heard today, like how much do they emphasize like the academics? Like do they ask like straight up what's their SAT or ACT?
That's the first question. So the question is, what do college coaches ask when we start talking about academics? There are two questions that a college coach asks me: grades and caliber of person, meaning give me this young man's background. Give me what are the parents like? Who is this young man? But academically, they want to know, okay, there's some accountability and responsibility with your grade, your study habits, your routines. Can he handle the curriculum at this school? Cornell, the young man I just alluded to a few minutes ago, when he got there his freshman year, I saw him during Thanksgiving break. He was mentally fried. It was the most intense, and this boy went to a very, very high-level academic school called Isidore Newman in New Orleans, which is where Odell Beckham, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, it's a very big academic school, similar to Phillips Andover and Exeter and things like that. And he was absolutely beside himself because he had to get up at 5 a.m. to work out. He was in class from 8 to 1 p.m. He had baseball practice from 1:30 until 7, and he had study hall from like 8 until 1. And he had to do it all over again 6 days a week. And let's just say that Cornell, it wasn't exactly basket weaving. So he's in the engineering program. So, I mean, that was a daunting task for a boy that had good foundation academically, and he still was kind of, at wit's end. And it didn't smooth over until probably his sophomore year, the end of his sophomore year, where he kind of was able to start feeling good about everything. So, any other questions? Do you have any questions about your recruiting process? Dax, you have no questions about your recruiting process?
How do I find out like what school's good for me?
Okay. No. Would you say that's a question that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that's a question that you? Okay. How do you find a school that's right for you? How much time do you spend on the internet?
A lot.
Okay. Do you use social media?
Yes.
Do you use it a lot?
Yes.
Okay. How many times a week do you talk to your friends?
All day, every day.
Okay. When's the last time you looked up Ithaca or AIC?
It's been a couple months since I
Okay, so my point to you is this. You have access at your fingertips with Google. Every boy here has access to every school in the country, whether they have baseball or not. What's important to you? You, not dad, not mom. Okay, you have to know what excites you. Where do you want to be? What environment do you want to be? How far away from mom and dad do you want to be? Are you going to be on a flight, or are you going to be able to drive? Is there a bus? Is there a train? What do I want to major in? Well, I don't know what I want for breakfast. How do I know what I want to major in school? Okay, well, this type of thing, you have to start to have some understanding. Your guidance counselors at school, you open up a dialogue with your guidance counselors. That's the first place to start. They're going to kind of give you an understanding of what they think you're capable of doing and what might be your best fit. Sometimes the best fit might be a school right in your backyard. It could be a school that's 2,000 miles away. Have you ever heard of Pomona Fitzer or Whittier University? Okay, where's Whittier located?
I don't know, I just heard the name.
Okay, it's in Northern California. You know why I bring that school up? It's a great, great academic institution that has a specific major that a boy was looking for. And when I mentioned Whittier, oh, my grandmother's best friend lives in that city. Okay, all of a sudden they start to fly out, visit grandma, she takes her friend, they go over and look at the school, love the school. Oh man, it's a long plane ride, that's a 6-hour plane ride, but I love the school. So now you as a young man have to start to decide, I really love the school, is this the step I want to take? So you as a student athlete have to start to do some due diligence, some homework. Look at the photos. Try to say to mom and dad, okay, I've narrowed my school choices down to 5. Can we visit these campuses? What's realistic? So in other words, if you go to dad and say, this school costs $72,000 a year, I know dad. I don't think he's going to vote for, yeah, let's go for the 280 student loans. In other words, is this a realistic school? Academically, financially, geographically. Is the school offering scholarships, a Division III school? No. Is my academic foundation and my ACT score going to get me any merit money, any grant money? That's where the guidance counselors come into, and that's where what I do comes into play. And we have to start to negotiate with that school. 1, can I get in? 2, does the baseball coach want me? And 3, what is my end game? In other words, Jake, if I said to you, you're going to have student loans that were going to be in excess of $100,000 to you when you were 25, would that matter to you now at 17?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, do you know what you would be paying every month? Do you have an idea what that would cost you every month at the age of 25?
No.
Probably over $1,500 a month. That's like a mortgage payment, higher. Okay, but you'd have to do that for well over 10 years. Is that something you want to do for your future you? Okay, so these are the things that you start to understand. There's a cost to the education. Do I want to go to a state school, either in-state? Am I going out of state? Am I going public? Am I going private? What level of, the other thing I tell parents all the time is junior colleges are the #1 vehicle to go to a great 4-year school for basically nothing. Now, I'm not advocating that for you. I'm just saying you go to a junior college, you're going to pay a significantly less amount for those first 8 semesters, okay? So let's call it 4 semesters of school, okay, that you're going to get. If you have a good financial, academic foundation after those 4 semesters, you can go to a 4-year school because you're a proven college student. You're going to get a significant amount of academic money, and if you're a good baseball player, you get some athletic money. So there's a lot of different options that you have available to you, but you need to start to get onto the internet and start looking up those things. And what you really need to start to understand is where you're heading. Like, you have to know where you want to head. In other words, if I look at the whole country, it's like going out, ordering pizza, and you haven't eaten in 5 days. You walk in, you look up at the menu, is there anything that doesn't look good? It all looks good, right? Okay, but I got to zero it down, I can only select 1. Okay, so that's what you got to start to do now. Any other questions before I bring Andy up? Guys? Okay, I'm going to bring Andy up for a brief moment, and this is going over on our Facebook Live, but I think it's important. I met Andy about a little over a year ago in October of 2015. And I call Andrew, he is the epitome of every parent that I deal with. Meaning, I deal with juniors and seniors, their parents, and saying, where are we heading? We have no plan. This is our last ditch. What do we do, and how do we get there? And when I met Andrew, he was trying to get a team for his son to play on in Jupiter, Florida, for an event in October. And I said to him, I need to meet your son, and I need to look into his eyes. And so when I get a lot of parents that say to me, it just had to happen tonight. Why do you need to look at my son? Why do you need to talk to my son? Why do you need to see him? Can't you talk to him on the phone? I said, no, I got to see him at a ball field. I'm going to be here. I can meet you at this time. And the reason for that is I just met with a young man, and I asked him how much baseball he watched. Not much. Where do you want to school? I don't know. Where do you see yourself playing? I don't know. Can't help that boy. Can't work with that boy. Whereas with Andrew, he brought his son down. The minute he got out of the car and he's walking towards me, I look at this big, tall, 6'6", probably weighed 200 pounds at the time, maybe a little under. And I looked up, and then as I put my hand out, when he put his hand into mine, he looked me right in the eye and he shook my hand, introduced himself, and in my mind I said, okay, that's positive number 1. Positive number 2 is when I asked Jared, I never even acknowledged Andy at the time. I just had my eyes in on Jared, and I said, where do you want to play baseball? He said, I want to play baseball at a Division I school. I think I have the ability to play there, and that's where I want to play. So he had a purpose from the first day I talked to him. And when I asked him if he was prepared and ready to commit himself, same way I'd done with Jake, no playing in the fall, you got to dive into your strength and conditioning and your nutrition. If he was prepared to do that, he said yes. And everything that he did from that first day forward had a purpose. He never questioned where he was going. He didn't know where he was going to go to school. And I used to get calls from Andy all the time, what's the plan, where are we going? You know, it's getting late. And we literally got into late May of his senior year before we had a landing spot. So my point of telling you that is this is a good opportunity as you as parents that drove here tonight, and for people that are watching, you have a parent that's been down this road, that spent a lot of money. This is the time to ask. These are the types of people you want to ask questions because they've lived it. They've experienced it. So Andy Freilich is going to come up, and his son is at Kentucky right now. And when I talked to his son's college coach, here's the number one thing he told me. He said, this guy has come the furthest in the shortest amount of time. He just needs more time on his plate. Meaning he didn't get the reps for those 4 years in high school. He didn't get the travel ball reps. But he's in a place where they think a lot of him and think that he has the ability and the upside to get to where he wants to go. So I'll introduce Andy to you now, Andy Freilich.
Thank you, Walter. I appreciate, I'm going to read a letter that I wrote to Walter. My name is Andy Freilich. My son Jared is at the University of Kentucky. He's a freshman. And I wrote this letter to Walter probably 2 days after my son, we found out he was recruited 2 days before his graduation from his postgraduate year at Williston Northampton School. So the emotions were flowing, and they still do when I read this, because as I sit here and listen to the questions and I listen to Walter talking, you need to realize what you've got here and the person that's speaking to you, because I went through it. I've been down every single road you can imagine. So I just want to read this to you, and people out in Facebook world, please just humor me and listen to the letter, because it touches on everything that Walter just talked about. Walter, I'm sitting at my desk the day after one of the happiest days of my son Jared's life, trying to digest all that's happened in the last several months. As you know, it's always been Jared's dream to play Division I baseball in college, followed by the ultimate dream of a spot in the MLB. But after a serious injury to his spine during the winter of his junior year in high school, that dream seemed almost impossible. He missed his junior season and spent most of his senior year rehabbing from the injury. Jared was so behind in the recruiting process that I frantically signed Jared up for every showcase possible to get him exposure. The results were many dollars expended with little to no results. The first email I sent you was on September 22nd, 2015, and your reply was, "Are you interested in chatting tomorrow? I can place your son at a D1." I thought to myself, another empty promise from a person trying to get more money from us, but after a lengthy phone conversation, I changed my mind. You talked to me about your experience and took the time to answer all my questions. Our first face-to-face meeting was at a local field because you wanted to look into my son's eyes to see if he had what it took. I wasn't really sure what you meant, but after I saw the interaction you had with my son Jared that night, I quickly came to understand if you were going to give your time, you wanted to make sure that my son would give the end result and would be successful. What I didn't understand at the time was how in 8 short months you would be able to take Jared's raw talent and begin to shape him into a better finished product. I will never forget during our first conversation when I told you how frustrating the process had been, with all the false promises of coaches claiming to be able to take my son to the next level, but never really being able to deliver. My wife and I were running up and down the East Coast, chasing events, claiming to give exposure to college coaches or the costly elite summer teams. It was emotionally and financially draining with little to no results. You said to me, stop chasing, formulate a plan, and execute the plan. I thought to myself, what is he talking about? I have a plan. Join the best summer team, hire pitching coaches at $100 an hour, and run like crazy to every event to showcase your son, right? I was so wrong and didn't realize it until you showed us the plan. I remember thinking to myself, what if it doesn't work? Well, here we are 8 months later, and my son Jared signed the letter of intent to play baseball in the SEC at the University of Kentucky. If I'd only met you 2 years ago, I could have saved myself thousands and thousands of dollars and many sleepless nights. In 8 short months, you have created real interest from high-level coaches because Jared is now a focused competitor. The plan you helped Jared execute was not easy, but the results are exactly what he wanted. The plan confirms that with hard work, dedication, and the right team in your corner, anything is possible. Jared understands that his journey is just beginning, and he has some extremely hard work ahead of him. But the difference is that after training with you, he is mentally prepared and physically prepared to meet those challenges. For the peace of mind, my wife and I are eternally grateful. To witness the expression on Jared's face the night he got the call from Kentucky saying, "We want you," was incredibly fulfilling as parents. Walter, you are the first baseball coach in Jared's journey to follow through on a commitment. As I've said to you in many conversations, this process is grueling. Having you in our corner has been invaluable. Thank you, Andrew and Lisa Freilich, proud parents of Jared Freilich, University of Kentucky. Go Wildcats. Yeah, I remember that day like it was yesterday, and it wasn't that long ago. And my son is at boot camp. You know, playing in the SEC has been a real wake-up call for us, and I don't care whether you aspire to play Division III, Division II, Division I, it doesn't matter. There are some Division III schools that are just as good, if not better, than a lot of the Division I schools that are out there. And having your son prepared, or having you prepared to play baseball at that level has got to start. And talk about being a junior, you're late in the game. My son was a senior, he was a postgraduate senior. I emailed every single coach in the country. I pulled the list off the internet and I sat up nights and nights and nights. I do video. I had a nice video laid out and I sent it to probably 300 college coaches across the country. I took the Division I list, the Division II, Division III, and when Walter asked me the question, or I asked Jared the question, where do you want to go? Who's going to take Jared? Who wants him? Wrong answer. Okay, and that's why he's asking you all these questions. Okay, so take it from somebody who's been down the road, spent, I don't even want to look back and what I've spent. I still have a credit with Perfect Game in Florida. I begged Walter to put him on the team to take him down to the Wood Bat World Series, I think it was, in January in Jupiter. He said, stop. Time out. Stop. I have a credit at Perfect Game. We stopped, shut Jared down. I'd been to every showcase you could imagine here in the East, and we chased everywhere. We ran to every single showcase with little to no results. So with the plan and formulating the plan, my son packed on 35 pounds right here in that gym. And my son was going to another gym. And same thing, promised, yeah, we're going to get you ready, we're going to get you ready. If you're not in the right gym, stop. Get to the right gym, whether it be here. I have the highest level of respect for Cressy's performance. And Walter introduced us to Eric Schoenberg, Momentum Physical Therapy, one of the best physical therapists that I've ever seen. Okay, and they got my son ready. And with Walter in our corner, he is where he is now, and I owe everything to this man right here. So as he sits here and talks to you, it sounds like a lot, and you're listening to a lot. And as a parent, you're sitting there and you're confused, and you're not sure, and you want to know, and you want your kid to go to the best school academically and baseball-wise, and you want him to fulfill his dream. It's very, very hard to do it by yourself. I tried, and I tried really hard, and I thought I was doing a great job. And guess what? I waited too long. I waited way too long. You're at a perfect opportunity right now, absolutely perfect. 8th grade, 9th grade, talking about postgraduate year, where I'm going to repeat my junior year. My nephews are in hockey. Everybody repeats their junior year in hockey. Everybody. You know, that's a standard practice. But in baseball, it's a little bit different depending on if they're ready. You go to these showcases and you walk in, there's kids that are better than you, faster than you, stronger than you, throw harder than you, hit better than you. And if you're not ready to go, you just wasted your time. So I appreciate everything this man's done for me, and I just met him when he said about 1.5 years ago now, and I still bother him on the phone, asking questions about what's going on with the process now, because even after they get to school, trust me when I tell you, you're going to have questions. So I'll be here after if anybody wants to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer them for you, and thank you for listening to me, and thank you, Walter, for everything you've done for my son.
So that basically be it. I mean, I want to make sure that everybody understands, especially the guys that drove up and drove a long way, people that were watching online. If, in the end, your son truly wants to play baseball in college, that can be accomplished. Whether you have to go through the postgraduate or repeating a year type route, whether it has to be a JUCO or junior college route. It can be accomplished. But I want to end on this particular note. There's a gentleman in Louisiana, his name is Michael Roper, and him and his wife, Shelley, sat with me after a showcase. And their son was a center fielder, a very fast center fielder, strong arm center fielder, really elite center fielder. And they sat with me and they said, we really want to have, Caleb really wants to play Division I baseball. And I said, how bad does he want it? Real bad. I said, well, he's not going to be able to play as a center fielder. And they both looked at me as if I had just told them there was no Santa Claus. And they said, well, you just spent 20 minutes telling us how elite he was and how fast and how strong. I said, well, he can't hit. Now, I can either tell you now or we can wait 3 years from now and you can find out then. And they said, well, how is he going to play baseball? I said, he's going to be a pitcher. He had never pitched actively, competitively, really, in his life other than maybe Little League. My point of telling you that is that family at that point had two options. Trust in me. They didn't know me. I'm from Boston. I grew up in Lynn, Mass, and I'm in Louisiana. Not only did they trust me and believed in what I was saying, their son basically began to transition from a hitter to a pitcher. And if you're a hitter, your mindset is, I want to play every day. When you're a pitcher and you can only pitch really once a week, it's a big mental process. That boy went his whole junior year in high school learning how to pitch. His senior year, he went out and got a scholarship to the University of Arizona. In March of his senior year, tore a tendon in his elbow from a bone chip. And everybody panicked, but not Caleb. He went through Tommy John surgery, and when he went to Arizona, he was part of that team last year. But the college coach walked in and said, we're going to redshirt you next year. We want you to get more innings. We want you to get more reps and build your strength back up. Walter, what do we do? This is a young man that's at a Division I school. Where do we go? What do we do? And it's not like I just work with them. I'm up here in Boston. It's not like I just work with somebody and say, thank you very much and see you later. My point of telling you that is, okay, we jump into action. We find the right fit. He's at San Jacinto Junior College right now as a sophomore. He's going to be in the Major League draft. He's up to 93 miles an hour. He throws an amazing curveball. My point of all of this is that boy in 2012 doesn't know who Walter Beatty is, and in 2017, that boy's on the cusp of being a drafted athlete